I want to begin today talking about this whole concept of how we do what we do in maximizing emotions and feelings. When you consider what enables anyone to make someone else feel good, it comes down to the culture. Culture of your family, the culture of your company. Many of our companies are personality-based, which means they're an extension of our personality. So in my case, I'd like to think my company's personality is an extension of who I am, my family, and where we come from. So where my family comes from is a village in the south of Italy. So if you can imagine a map, and the map of Italy, and if you find Naples on the map and then go east about 80 kilometers, you will find the city of Foggia, Foggia. 31 kilometers north of Foggia is a little village called Celenza Val Fattore. And Celenza Val Fattore is at the top of a mountain, and it borders the Fiore Fattore River. My grandfather was born there in 1879. He came to the United States in 1897. And he came here as a young man and met my grandmother here. She came from the village of Avellino, outside of Naples. Her name was Angelina Califano. And Giuseppe, my grandfather, met Angelina. They fell in love, and they were married in 1905. And my father was their third child. My father's name is Antonio. And my father would tell me stories about growing up in the Bronx neighborhood, where we come from. And my father would speak about Grandpa. And I remember Grandpa back from when I was a little boy. And Grandpa, when he came to the United States, spoke Italian, but he learned English. And it was very important to him that the children would assimilate into the American culture. So when the Italian Americans came here, they had their own culture and their own background, but they wanted to assimilate as much as possible. So when my father, as a boy, was growing up and he wanted to go out and play, and he asked for permission to leave the apartment, my father would say, Grandpa would look at him sternly. And Grandpa would say, Antonio, buona figura. And he would convey this expression in Italian, and my father knew exactly what he was saying. And that expression again is buona figura. And as it translates from Italian to English, buona means good. Figura translates as figure or image. And what the expression means is, Anthony, if you're going to go out and play, don't embarrass us. Convey a positive image of who we are. Because they wanted to assimilate. They wanted to be accepted in the community. So this expression, buona figura, roughly translated means to make a good impression. And it's a layman's way of saying something such as the halo effect. That positive feeling people get about someone else a split second before they can think about why they feel that way. And in all of our companies, we use this idea of buona figura and the halo effect to create these positive feelings, because people buy from people who they like, when they feel good about you and the company that you represent. So getting back to my dad, growing up in the Bronx, he was not a good school student. And back in the 1920s, if you were not good at school, by the time you finished 5th grade, you didn't go to 6th grade. And he just wasn't a good classroom student. So at 11 years old, he was out and he was working. Learned to work with his hands. And it wasn't that my dad wasn't smart. He just didn't learn well in the classroom. But he learned how to use tools, liked working with his hands. And at some point in the 1940s, my father bought this truck. And he started to serve the Bronx community selling what was called Crisaraline. This is before the commercial laundry detergents and cleansers were available on the market. So back then, my father would get empty 1-gallon wine bottles. He would wash them out and sterilize them, and he would mix this mixture of of bleach, water, and other chemicals in this big concrete vat. And they would pour the crystalline into the wine bottles, and then he would sell this throughout the Bronx neighborhood. So in the neighborhood where I come from, most of the tenements are 6-story tenements. So you can imagine my father's truck in the Bronx. He parks the truck, he gets 3 gallons of crystalline in the right hand, 3 gallons in the left hand, and he starts at the first floor of a tenement building, knocking on doors. And this is how my father learned to sell, meeting people. He would knock on doors, sell the crystalline, 2nd floor, 3rd floor, get to the 6th floor. If he still had 2 gallons left, my dad would go to the roof, climb over to the next building, and start selling from the 6th floor down. And this is how it was done. And you served your community that way. And he developed his social skills, his sales skills. He was definitely a smart man, but some people just don't learn well in the classroom. Some people have to learn to do it with their hands. And you would see throughout the Bronx my father's truck. Cool. And there's the truck. And, right on the side of the truck, you can see Anthony Kasha, barely. And this truck is parked at the corner of East 185th Street and Southern Boulevard in the neighborhood of Pelham. So if you know the Bronx, you know the Southern Boulevard borders the Bronx Zoo. And all those trees, that's the Bronx Zoo on the other side of Southern Boulevard. And some of the things my father taught me, because later on he became a concrete contractor. And I used to go out with him in his truck, and we used to lay out forms, and I was the mixer. So from the age of about 11 to 14, I had really good shoulders. Mixed a lot of concrete. And what he taught me about working with customers is, it's important that a customer likes you. And one of the expressions I remember was that, customers will forget the things you may say. They may forget the things you do, but they'll never forget the way you make them feel. Make people feel good. And, he did that by making sure we cleaned up afterwards, that everything was put away. And this culture of who we are, where we come from, how we build this personality-based organization of ours, it could begin with that very simple phrase, bona figura. And I'm sure you have your own culture and your own ancestry that contributes to who you are and how you add value. So with that story, I'd like to get ready to establish another day of participation, learning, and your involvement. Now, Joe is going to come up front here, and he's going to lead us in some instruction. I urge you to do what we practiced yesterday. Remember those 3 words? Talkers are learners. Speak up, ask questions. The more you engage, the more you interact, the more we are going to learn. Joe, it's all you, big guy.
Fly away on my Zephyr. I feel it more than ever. And in this perfect weather, we'll find...
All right, welcome. And I just want to start by saying, over the last couple of days, everybody probably knows I have a self-esteem weakness, right? That I have very poor self-esteem. Why would somebody run a business like this that puts their face on everything? It's a desperate cry to be liked, you know what I'm saying there? And certainly everybody in this room has, I want to say thank you for everybody over the last couple of days, the kindness and respect that you guys have shown me the last couple of days, and just everybody, Julie and everybody. Really, it's over the top. I just want to say thank you for that. So thanks so much, guys. Thanks, everybody here. Well, now that's over, I want to go ahead and talk today about a program we've been developing over the last couple of years. And let me ask you guys a question. Would you guys agree that Major League Baseball, hockey, or football players, the major leagues is the finest of the athletes that are available in those sports, right? But let me ask you a question. If you like, for instance, spring training is right now for baseball, correct? But by the time somebody becomes a Major League Baseball player, how many years of training do these people have to get to that level? How many hours do you think they put in? Did it happen? Is that an overnight success story when somebody just becomes at the highest of what they do, and there's only probably in Major League Baseball no more than 300 to 300 players, something like that, of the millions of people who play baseball? What does it take to get to that elite status?
10,000 hours.
10,000 hours, you think, Eric? That's a pretty good. The guy knows. Let's give him a big hand. That's pretty good information there. That was a rhetorical question, but nonetheless, well played. If you know Eric, he probably has an answer to just about everything. He's a fun, fat kind of guy. He's got a lot of great information there. And so think of the hours they put into this thing. And so even though they've been 10,000 hours to become a Major League Baseball player, what do they do before every single game? The game starts at like 7 o'clock at night if you have a night game. What time do the players get there? They get there at like 6:45 and throw their uniform on and get to the field? What do they do?
1 in the afternoon.
What?
1 in the afternoon.
About 1 in the afternoon they get there, about 6 hours before the game. What takes place? They get some of their treatment, their physical treatment, and then they get outside, they go into the field, and then they start taking some infield practice, and alternately they take batting practice. I mean, after 10,000 hours of training, or all those days and years, since they were 8 years old probably in Little League playing t-ball, and now they're a 24-year-old, or even in some cases, some of these guys are 40 years old playing baseball out there. So still in great shape and taking care of themselves. They can play until they're 40, 45 years old in some cases, right? Do you really think that somebody really needs to know more about how to hit a baseball when they're 40 years old and they've been all those years of training and then 20 years of playing in the Major League Baseball system, that they really need to know more about how to hit a baseball? But why do they take batting practice every single day, even though they have all these hours accumulated and they are completely experts in their field? Why did they think they would still take batting practice?
To improve and keep consistency, and they'll actually improve on their consistency.
What's that?
To keep them sharp.
Keep them sharp, keep their skill sharp? What do you think it is?
They can hit the ball.
Hit the ball. What would happen if a guy didn't take the batting practice? Could he learn? I mean, where does he want to learn? Does he want to learn in the game? Like, oh man, that guy has a nasty curveball. I should have been practicing curveballs. Well, now I got 3 more at bats to practice how to hit a curveball. Is that the time to practice how to hit a curveball? No, you should have been realizing this guy throws curveballs, and then ask the batting practice pitcher, all I want to see is curveballs. That's all I don't want to see any fastballs. I know I can do that, but all I want to see is curveballs, right? So they work on the thing that they need to work on. They work on their weakness, whatever it would be. The thing that the other person's strength, how can I diminish their strength? How can I put my weakness in there? Yet, it's very interesting. I have an announcement I'm going to make here today during this session. It's a really exciting announcement for us, and it involves some of our members here. But one thing I mentioned is where did Abram go?
He's dealing with a salesman issue right
Oh,
now.
okay. So I was going to ask him, but you probably know the story, Jason. Abram, I was going to ask him to tell this story. He told me a story. Correct me if I'm wrong, if any details are wrong on this. Spengler Plumbing, the companies right in front of me here, Jason and Abram and all the guys here, these guys are a union company. So their people get paid top wages in the area. There's no negotiating. It's collective bargaining. It's been completely, it's already a thing, the bonus system, they're already getting top wages, And so they say, how can we get these guys to sell? How can we appeal to them in what they do? And so basically they sold their employees. The employees sold themselves on it, actually. Abram asked their guys, well, how many years did it take to become a journeyman in the work you do, right? And what was the answer to that? To be an HVAC journeyman in a union shop, how many years?
5.
It took 5 years to become what you would call an expert status, where you become a beginner after 5 years, is what they say after this kind of training. Now you're a beginner. You're your first year journeyman, right? Not a veteran, but you're just right there, right? And then he asked him a question. He said, well, how many years of communication training did you take when you were taking your classes on your skills for 5 years of plumbing and HVAC training? And they said, well, we didn't get any training on that. We have 0 years of training. And they said, well, how many years do you think it will take to become a journeyman in doing your services and communicating your services to a client? And they said, well, I suppose probably 5 years.